and very difficult to speak after some of the luminaries I never knew existed. Starting with, I have to compete with Advait because I'm speaking on the very same topic about the future, and I hope I'll be at least as good. Because as always, I'm a last minute preparation. I was just preparing as this thing. That's the fertility rates. That's the fertility rates of India. As you can see, it's falling down. And that's the projected population. The Indian population is supposed to stabilize by 2040 and start falling down. Because the fertility rates today are 2.3. When it reaches 2.1, it will stabilize and ultimately it start falling. The world population is going to fall. There are 3 different projections, but I believe in the lower projection, which is this, and it will stabilize and then it will start falling, and finally in 2070s and 80s the world population will stabilize at 8 billion. So now I'm going to give a series of facts most of which you already know. Electric cars are going to be a reality. Software, artificial intelligence, natural language processing is going to happening. Recycling is going to be big. Manufacturing is going to be automated. And 3D printers are going to come. There's going to be huge changes in agriculture. The currency, as we know now, is going to change. Bitcoins are there. And most importantly, the significant changes, the way people are thinking, the way youth are thinking is changing dramatically. We all wanted to have a good house. We all wanted to own a good car. And even among the 3 boys, I can see the difference. I cannot believe Anandit not wanting to have a car. Vivi wants to have a car, but he doesn't mind if he doesn't have a car in USA. He can, he wants a car when he comes to India. And Viraj is barely interested in driving. He doesn't want to own a car, I think. So the very concept of how people think, we all wanted to have a good house, but I think they want to live in good hotels and good rented apartments. The youth today, I think they focus more on experience than ownership. So these are the changes that are happening today. But let's see what happens if we put all these changes together. Maybe we can predict the future, and this is the future as I see it. The electric cars, they're going to be 30 years long, and the automobile industry is going to change. They're not going to pollute, and they're not going to be much automobile jobs in the future. Solar energy is going to come. There's not going to be any and solar energy is, there's no moving parts, there's no jobs in the energy sector, and there are not going to be new power projects into the future. Software jobs are going to disappear because natural language processing, or at least they're going to change dramatically, and there's no need for coding. And 3D automation again in manufacturing, there's not going to be any manufacturing jobs. But if you look at the needs of the world, we don't need any more steel or any more oil or any more gold or any more iron, copper. Mining industry is going to be dead because recycling, not only plastic, everything that once the population start falling, we have all the iron on the surface of the earth using, then to dig in and mine for new ore. So everything is going to change. So we have everything what we already want. So the world is going to be richer, it's going to be greener. The jobs are going to change dramatically. And so what do we prepare for? What do our children prepare for? So I think it is, we can't prepare for something that we do not know. So the thing I think the children need to focus is socialize, because things are going to democratize. Bitcoin is going to change the way currencies are looked at. And the value of, the very notion of wealth is going to change. And just a little bit about Bitcoins, why the very notion of what is rich and what is poor is going to change. Because everybody is going to have all the food, all the power, all the steel that they need in the future. So the very notion of wealth is going to change. And initially, I think it's going to democratize the value of currency. And today, the value of currency is based on some, yesterday gold standard based on what RBI thinks, and tomorrow it's going to be based on what all the miners are going to think. In case of Bitcoins, it's very fixed, but there are 111 other new currencies. And it's going to be based on some algorithms doing some related to some economic activity, but tomorrow it can be related to if a group of artists develop a cryptocurrency, it's how good artwork they develop is their wealth. If a group of musicians develop a cryptocurrency, it will be based on how good music they produce. Or sports person, there can be a different cryptocurrencies based on what they value. And so the very notion of wealth is going to change. And so how do our children prepare for the future? We cannot prepare, we can't ask them to prepare for the future. I think, but the best advice I think was given by Gautam, the 3 things one needs to do. And I added a few things to that, and that is, socialize, network, communicate. These are going to be the most important thing for the children. And the children are going to live in a greener world, wealthier world, and the next slide. I started with that. The population of the world, population of India. The same curve I superimposed on the population of Srisadan family. That was Nainama and Tataya once. And this is the next generation. That's the next generation. I think we are stabilizing. We are 101 now. And so I think it's the future. I think the elders will be comforted with the fact that your children and your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren are going to live in a very healthier, greener world and a wealthier world. But more importantly, not only but this is Srisadan family, not only the curve matches the world population and the Indian population, but it is shifted forward by 40 years. So we are where the world is in terms of population, where the world will be 40 years from now. We are already there. So the family is 40 years ahead of the time, but not just in population, but I think in every aspect, literacy rate, education, sports, arts, everything, we are ahead of the world, if not 40 years, 20 years ahead. So I think the elders will be comforted by the fact that they will see their children in a better and greener world. And I wish they live long enough to see part of it. And Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to all of you.